Yeah, on my desk here, again, you saw me, maybe you did, I built an engine stand, but I realized I wasn't sure how to hook up the key switch and the solenoid to the engine. So what we have here is the key switch, the solenoid. This light bulb represents the starter, and this light bulb represents the coil. And this piece of metal here represents the ground, the body ground. This is left over from the engine stand I made, a piece of metal. This is the battery, or is the Dr. Meter DC power supply, PS3005DM. So I looked it up at I bought that for 69 bucks. That's really handy. And we got a voltmeter. I don't know if I'm going to use that, but so again, I did this for me. I'm not trying to insult anybody by saying you're stupid, because I'm the stupid one. Well, I'm not stupid. I'm not a mechanic. I'm not an electrician. I played with wood all my life. So I made a drawing here. Again, I made this for me, but I decided I like to share stuff that I learned. So I'm just going to go over this. We got the battery, or the power supply. We got the body ground. We got the coil, which is a light bulb. We got the starter, which is a light bulb. And we get the ignition switch. So I'm just going to explain. It took me a little while to figure this out today. Well, an hour. And again, I'm using this is a key switch I got off of Amazon. I think it was like $6. This is a solenoid that I got off when I bought the 302 engine. Again, that's the engine stand. That thing I had a long time ago, and the wires I took out of an old wiring harness. And the alligator clips I bought off Amazon. I just bought a pile of them a year or two ago. So again, I'm just going to explain what I figured out, and probably everybody else in the world knows this already, but I didn't. First of all, everything needs to be grounded. So again, we got the power supply, so we got the black coming out. That's going to my ground. Without that, nothing works. The solenoid is grounded because, that's where it bolts to the body. That's how it gets grounded, so we got a ground going to the body. The coil, grounded to the body. Again, I'm not sure if the coil is actually grounded to the body. It might be grounded through the distributor, but it's grounded. The starter, this is a representation of the starter, is grounded. Any of these grounds, your car might not start. The starter, again, is bolted to the engine. That's a solid ground, but you got to make sure that the battery is grounded to the engine. So again, that's, and the only thing that doesn't need to be grounded is the key switch. The key switch is, just think of a light switch in your house. All it is the way a switch works. So here's a positive, and here's a negative. That's a plus, that's a negative. So a negative goes to the ground. Positive, negative. So all our switches There's a break in the wire. That's all a switch does. It has nothing to do with the ground. I mean, you can. I guess they have positive side grounds and negative side grounds. So really, you could have the. You could have the switch here. Anyway, that's what a switch is. So you don't need a ground because you're only interrupting one of the wires. Again, I hope you can see this thing. Again, if you're, oh, and this is the key switch. So I didn't draw. Well, no, this is looking at the key switch. So this is straight up is the key off. Turning it once is the what would they call it? They call it the again, every key switch might say something different. It's called the ignition. So straight up is off. One turn to the right is ignition. The second turn is run. So on this particular key switch, we have the power coming from the battery straight into here, no interruptions. And then we need ways to get the power out. So you have the ignition, and then this is on this switch, that is the starter. And then there's also accessories, which we're not talking about in this one. This is kind of a hokey hookup, but I'm just using stuff I have, and it's cold outside, so I'm taking the time to do this. Again, if you know all this stuff, it's just going to be like, why is he telling me this stuff? Because I didn't know, so I'm just sharing it. So you get the battery. Again, if you look in your car, this is the solenoid. From your car, you're going to have a wire running from the battery to one side of the solenoid. Then you're going to have a wire running from the other side to your starter. Again, the red is power. The black is the ground. And here's the body ground. So where was I? Okay, so we got the main wire power out of the way. You have a wire going to your solenoid and coming out to the starter, but it's not turning on because this thing needs to be activated, the solenoid. That's what all this other mess is. And also, if you wanted to jump your starter, just your starter, you could just jump right across here. Because all this is a switch interruption. But the car wouldn't start because you need the coil. So when I turn the key once, I drew on here, but when I turn it once, the ignition, it sends power to the coil. So I'll show you that in a second. Turn it once, sends power to the coil and the accessories, but we're not talking about accessories right now. You turn it all the way and hold it, it sends power to the starter. This is saying, okay, power, you can run through here. It's a magnetic switch in here. It's a small wire. The battery cables are huge wires, but you only need a little wire to click the magnetic switch to let the big wires work. Also, this is grounded. I don't know if I said that. This is grounded to the body. Again, we'll just go over the grounds real quick. The battery's grounded. I think I did that. I can't remember. The starter's grounded. The solenoid's grounded, and the coil's grounded. I can't hold this and turn it at the same time. So, this represents the coil. That represents the starter. Everything else is what it is. Basically, all we're trying to do is get power. Make sure the coil's on, because we need power to get to the distributor through the coil, and we need this. We need the starter to turn. Key off. I'm going to turn it once to the right. So this should turn on accessories, which we're not talking about, and coil. Okay, coil's on. Accessories are on. That means, you know, your dashboard's going to light up. So listen to the solenoid click. You can watch. So also the amperage being drawn off this. Well, the key switch and the light bulb is drawing 2.39 amps. Maybe that'll change when I click it, because this might draw a little bit. So when I turn it, the power will run through here and go to the starter. And you can watch the amperage draw. And the coil needs to stay on, because without the coil being on, your car won't start, even if the starter spins. So if you watch these people that are always saying, can we get the car running? You're always checking for spark. Well, you can't have spark if you don't have power to your coil. So here we go. If everything's hooked up right. Hear it click and the coil. So the starter turned on. Right now it's 239. I'm going to look at that this time. You can look at this and this. I can just hold it on. So for a split second, it went up to 700. Well, it did that time. But anyway, holding it on now, it's drawing it's drawing 3.25 amps. So now we have 2 light bulbs and this thing drawing more amps. So again, it's nice to have an amp meter. Like I think I've showed in other videos where you can put an amp meter on your power lead, but in this case, it's built into this power supply. So again, so what's happening when I turn it once, the coil goes on. It's going on because I have power to the coil. Again, it won't spark because the engine's not spinning, the distributor's not spinning. Again, this is going to, I don't know if I said this, when I bought the 302, I asked the guy for some parts. I said, let me have this, let me have some other stuff, because I was thinking I could use this to play with and to put it on the engine stand. But I never hooked one of these up before. I mean, I've worked on cars where you disconnect wires and you hook them back up, but just taking one and not knowing, I didn't know. But there's an S here and an I here. So the I guess is ignition, the coil. The S is start or run. So you could actually call this the start terminal. Again, I turn it once. It's letting power through to the coil. Again, we're not talking about any other circuits or systems. We're just talking about this. Wish this thing would stay over here. Click it again. Now it's in power. So the solenoid let the big cables go through, and the starter turned. And that's it. I didn't know it. And this looks like a huge mess. Oh, I gotta turn my key off because I'm drawing power. Which is why a lot of people, the battery goes dead. You have your key on your on position, or you leave your door open. It'd be handy to have one of these right sitting on your dashboard. I think I will when I finally rebuild this car. I'm gonna have something like this. It always tells me how much I'm drawing. So that's it. Again, the red is power, and the black is grounds, and everything is working off this power going to the switch to the solenoid. And this thing right here, I don't know if you noticed it. I have an Apple phone. This Apple Watch, I can start and stop the video. It's kind of handy. I don't have to get up, go over there and turn it off. It's also got a, if you have one of these watches, there's a the button on the side. I'm gonna try to turn it. It's kind of cool. That's why I got the Apple Watch, actually. Also, you can, this is a weird watch. If the phone rings, you can talk into this and answer the phone. Maybe you can dial with it, I don't know. Well, there's other things you can do with it, but I really got it just for this, and I hardly ever use it. So here we go. Turn off video, push the red.